That's a thing.
I'll have to trim that when I get home. Fix the thing, man. I swear bloopers are going to be a thing soon. Really?
Welcome to Walking Stuff and Dead Thangs. I'm Bird.
I'm Spaz.
And you sound enthusiastic.
I'm tired, man. Like, fuck. I worked a whole extra 45 minutes today.
Okay, so today we're talking about episode 7.
The pre-mid-season finale section, however you want to dissect the year of Walking Dead. I don't know. Okay, I have to do this. Now that we have a show, now that we're talking about Walking Dead, and since Walking Dead is one of the first shows to do it, the mid-season finales.
I don't like it.
Yeah. I've said to a couple people, I understand the premises behind it.
Premises?
There we go. I'm good with wording. I understand some of the ideas behind why they do it. I just, like, it feels like we're just getting going.
Yeah, it's just like, here you go, a new season, and then halfway through they're like...
You know what it is? Walking Dead is being that really, really hot chick that sees you at the bar, not only comes over and says hello, not only accepts the drink you bought her, but buys you one back, asks you if you want to come back to her place.
And then takes off in a cab before you get a chance to get out the door?
No, like totally invites you in, even asks you if you want a coffee, you know, you get all nice and comfortable, and then she falls asleep. That's what Walking Dead is right now. I'm just saying, hence I'm eating gummy bears and kind of lounging and not really giving a shit.
Well, it was kind of the same feeling with the episode, you know, lounging around, not giving a shit.
Especially if you're Abe, but we'll get to that in a second. We did talk, I do want to draw a distinction though. We talked last week about how the episode really didn't do anything.
Yeah, and this is the kind of the second episode in a row where it's kind of...
See, I'll draw the distinction though, because this episode, while it wasn't particularly exciting, this episode gathered all the pieces together for the finale. And there's some excitement to be had by that. Last week we didn't even have that. Like, this week we had anticipation. This week we had some idea of how good the mid-season finale is going to be. Mm-hmm. I think we all know where we're going to end up. Yeah.
But here's the question of the day.
If you bring up what's his name again, I swear to God, like, the door's right there. I'm lazy, but I might take a couple of steps. Like the crazy dude from Rick's town, or is that what you're going for?
No, not at all.
Okay, good, because he's about as relevant as Rick right now.
Yeah. No, basically, I think that what they're going to do is they're going to have all their shenanigans of going into the city, back into Atlanta, rescuing Dawn, or...
Beth and Carol?
Yeah.
There you go.
That
reunited Carter!
And
their other girlfriend, Beth.
Yes. It's going to be an awkward meetup. I think it's just going to be done and over with at the mid-season. They're going to go in, they're going to get her, they're going to get them, they're going to go out, and then they're going to start going on their way to meet up with Abe and Maggie and all those other people.
See, and if they do that, I see that happening too, if I'm perfectly honest with you, but if that happens that way, and if it's just a quick sweep in, sweep out, get the girls and move on and catch up with Dave and all them, that will be 2 large creative storyline opportunities in a row that they've squandered. The war on Terminus, we've said it since the beginning of this series. The war on Terminus could have been a whole season. The war on Slab City could have been a whole season.
Yep.
And to wipe that off in one episode.
And that's what I don't understand.
And because we haven't even had, we've seen people cross paths. Like, remember Woodbury?
Yep.
Andrea, who wasn't really even in the group at that point. Really? Don't go to Woodbury. Like, you're not even the one making the shirts. Like, why are you hawking other people's swag? I don't understand.
If you want, I'll take my shirt off.
See, here's the thing. Here's the threat for the day. You take your shirt off, I'll take my shirt off. And nobody wants that.
Touché.
No touche. You stay over there.
I said touche, not on guard.
Somebody that knows French, please help this boy out. This is why we can't have nice things. And in Woodbury, even before the main sort of powers that be, being Rick and the governor, came to heads, there was already a crossover of characters. Glenn and Maggie had already been taken to Woodbury. Andrea had already been part of their community. So we have that here. Beth is there and Carol's there whether she wants to be or not. Noah's now with the group, but we haven't had that main head-to-head, and we're going to have that main head-to-head and squash that entire potential story in one episode. I don't like that.
No.
I want somebody, you know what I want? I want it to be a stalemate where they get Carol and Beth back, but somebody else gets taken, like Carl.
See, that would be interesting.
It would, because it would give us a reason to give a shit about Carl. Going back to my thought from a couple shows ago, I still don't give a shit about Rick and Carl. That would give us a reason to give a shit about Carl. I give more a shit about Judith.
Yeah.
But that's because she's all like adorable.
Tiny
stuff. Yeah.
You know, little people.
Stuff that are things.
And that's the one thing that's disappointing me too, is that Gimple said that this season was going to be astronomically just mind blown. And I
guess that's all the stuff that's happening next year?
Maybe. I don't know. That's the second half of the season. But I mean, so far, it's just been, like, you know, there's been a couple badass things here, there's been a couple badass things there, but as a whole, so far, not really much has happened.
Yeah. The whole, like...
I think the biggest reveal was when Eugene said he wasn't a scientist. Everything else aside from that is pretty irrelevant.
Yeah. But see, and here's the thing, and I know we're revisiting stuff that we've been talking about all season. Even if everything Eugene says was true, they were basing their entire mission on whatever Eugene was telling them still being there, you know, questionable number of years later. Yeah. So, I mean, for the psychological effect it had on the group, absolutely. Eugene admitting that he wasn't a scientist and didn't actually have a plan was the emotional turning point. But as far as actual story structure, like, he could have been telling 100% the truth and they could have got there and it could have been gone. Or worse yet, the people locked in those safe zones could have, well, they would be dead and becoming zombies as well. So, in fact, not very impactful. In psychological effect, as we're going to get to in a second with Abe, very, very impactful. But, like I said, even Terminus, where, like, these people are people that are still alive that are cannibals. Take that, and it's like, take it to the next level of thought. We're scared of the zombies. What's one of the main things that zombies do? Zombies eat people. Here are people that are still people eating people. How bad is our society gone? They could have played up forever on that. They knocked it out in like 2 episodes.
Yep.
Like, I don't... The season's been fast-tracked. Twice.
Yeah.
Like, 2 solid installments, however you want to say it.
Here, give me some gummy bears.
Yeah, some gummy bears.
I want some gummy bears.
Professionals. Moving on. So we might as well get into it then, seeing as we're already talking about Eugene just knowing things. Last time we saw them, he was getting smoked in the face by Abe, who was understandably upset. Because pretty much the fact that Eugene was a scientist was the only thing that kept Abraham, is what I'm talking about? There we go. It was the only thing that kept Abraham from blowing his own head off when he found what was left of his family.
Yeah. So
that's, like, if figures say they've been traveling together a year, so in his mind, he's got to be thinking, I should have been dead a year ago.
Yeah.
That's a tough pill to swallow, even though he's got a nice piece of arm candy there. That, you know, they put on
even in the zombie apocalypse, he's got to get his dick wet.
They put on shows for Eugene, which is awkward. Something that is not soft, like cheese. Abe basically is frozen in place by this.
Yeah, he's a statue. The one thing I want to touch base on is with Abe, when he first met Eugene, he was alone.
Yeah.
Now that and he had his reason to live was that mission. But now that mission no longer exists, but he's no longer alone. He has an entire group of people that are caring for him, that actually give a shit.
Does the fact that the person that initially made him feel not so alone and recognize that there are other people out there, does the realization that's all a lie cast a doubt on everything that he's done in the past year, including the
new people?
Well, including the girl. I can't think of her name. I think it's like Mendez or whatever. Like, is his makeshift Apocalypse girlfriend. But he wouldn't have her if he didn't have Eugene, whose mission gave him a reason to live and actually reach out to people again. So
he's basically in a place of an extreme mindfuck.
He's in a place of an extreme mindfuck, but it's like, okay, if the one thing that kept me on this planet was bullshit, should I believe or even care about anything that I've done in the past year? Because I should have been dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's a total, like, psychological detachment. You could just be a walking shell. Like, it's...
It could be.
It's astronomical in its emotional effect, and I don't think it's anything either one of us are going to say that we have the first idea what that's like.
God, no.
We don't know what it's like to be eaten.
And I'll give him credit, because not many people would know what that is like because of how rare of a situation that is. So to be able to portray it as an actor, that's...
Oh yeah, the guy that plays Abraham...
Seamus?
No, he's cooler than Seamus. We're talking about Abraham, cool guy from The Walking Dead, not Seamus, the Ginger John Cena that is even worse.
Oh boy.
Yeah, well, bring up wrestling. I'm going to talk about wrestling. Guys, I'm going to talk about wrestling. Are you surprised? Moving on. The funny thing is, though, while we can talk about how Abe could sit here and detach from everybody around him is sort of banding around him. A, to make sure that he's okay and not hurting himself, but B, because I think they've recognized that he is one of their badasses. Like, I'm not saying that somebody like Mendez or Maggie or Glenn or whoever can't fend for themselves, because clearly the fact that they're still alive proves that they can.
But he still taught them things.
He's still taught them things, and he's a pretty impressive looking brick wall to stand behind if they need to. Like, not that, you know, size and muscle is everything, but like, sometimes in your group you need a blunt instrument in your repertoire.
Yeah.
And Abe's a blunt instrument. Like, let's... Abe wants to go juggernaut shit.
He wants to go Captain America. From Texas. America.
That door is looking really good right now. Anyways, Maggie taking care of Eugene is a thing. So, first of all, Eugene isn't in fact dead, which is nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
The mullet lives.
The mullet lives on.
The Tennessee top hat. But here's the thing. Yeah, he does have individual, like, intelligence to contribute to the group, but in general, because everybody has their own little things that they bring to the group.
Yeah.
But what is Eugene's major role now that he's not...
now that he's not a scientist, he still is aware of
what's
going
going
on
on
around him. Well, yeah, but basically...
I don't know if you know this, but he just knew things.
He just knew things. And there's been times when they've gone back and forth between Maggie, Glenn, and a few of the other people in that group. And they've done stuff and said, well, how do you know how to do this? And they've said, Eugene taught us.
The water filter from this week.
Yeah, the water filter. Eugene taught them how to do that.
I mean, the bottom of that water filter is a piece of her shirt, and I'm not sure when the last time any of them did laundry was. So I don't know how...
Better than nothing.
It is better than nothing. I don't know how effective that would be. I like the fact that they were catching fish in basically zombie underwear.
Yes.
That was a thing. With stuff.
And stuff. And things.
It seems fishy to me. Yep.
Well, they haven't showered in a while. Maybe Maggie was just kind of sitting in the river and they were just like, hey.
Well, Maggie sat in the river and all the other fishes were like, Mommy? Let's not do that. Rick has a plan.
Yeah.
Because they didn't bother to make any big deal of Daryl showing up at the church with this random kid that nobody knows. It's just, no, they're just building up the church. And so they're going to go back and get the girls, and that's fine. There's a plan. They're going to get security guards and make a trade. And
Yeah, do a human trade-off.
remember in the first season when they had the gangster kid from all the gangsters that were hanging out in that nursing home, and they tried to trade for Glenn, and they almost got their heads blown off until the grandma came out? I don't think there's any grandmas in Slab City, so I don't know if the trade-off thing is necessarily going to work. But what I thought was interesting in this entire conversation, because Rick wanted to go to war, and it was actually Tyrese that wanted the more peaceful resolution, as we're finding out with Tyrese. But Daryl Not that Daryl doesn't have a mind of his own, honestly, because he does. But Daryl went directly against Rick as far as what they needed to do, which I thought was an interesting dynamic because they don't kiss each other's asses, but they are each other's sort of right-hand man.
Yeah. Like, they don't disagree a lot.
They don't, but it's not in a way that it's like, okay, that's what we're doing, okay. Like, they're not... They, Rick is... You have a phone that's doing things and stuff.
Yep.
I think Rick, if I want to be really corny for a second, Rick is the big brother that Daryl should have had.
Yeah.
Let's all pause the show while Bird checks his phone. You back now?
Yep.
Okay. And I don't know what you would say Daryl is for Rick, because Rick is still that guy, even now, who wants to maintain a little bit of his humanity. So I think if you get to those one or two things left in the world that I think Rick can't handle yet, Daryl's going to be that guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, Daryl brings a whole different skill set, the entire survival skill set to the group. So I think, like...
Redneck ingenuity.
I'm sorry, if the group ever splits off and it's like Rick goes one way, Daryl goes the other way, the group's going to follow Daryl. Like, the audience will follow Daryl.
Oh, yeah.
The girls will... Yeah, well, stuff. I'm with Team Maggie. With Team Maggie?
Yeah.
Okay. Father Gabriel ran away because he's an idiot. He doesn't want to fight. He doesn't like the people that are fighting, but he runs away from them and thinks he's going to survive alone in the wilderness after...
I don't think that's it.
Nope.
Nope, I'm going to disagree.
You're going to disagree? But you're supposed to be my Daryl. Are you not my Daryl, Bird?
I will shoot you in the head with a crossbow.
You're too close to me to shoot me with a crossbow.
No, I completely disagree. I think there's actually more to Father Gabriel than what he's leading on.
I think he'll discover more about himself now that he's run away. I don't think he's got it in him yet. I think he's making himself learn.
Probably. That is definitely a possibility, but at the same time, I want to sit there and be like, you know what, this guy, he's been in this church, how has he gotten his food? How has he defended himself? When they found him, why was he out there? And now why is he running away? Now that he knows that there's a group that is willing to defend him, that has a specific skill set to survive in this kind of scenario, why is he running away? Why is he?
Because he doesn't want to kill. When he spoke to Michonne about what they had done or whatever, he was still naive is the best word I can think of, because he's like, why did you guys have to do that? You know, they said they were going to leave, and he didn't get that, like, they really weren't going to leave.
Yeah.
And you saw him, like, with everything that's going on, his big concern is getting the bloodstains off the floor.
Yeah.
I think it's more a sense of he thinks what they're doing. He thinks that the people he's with right now are as bad as the people he just saw them kill in their actions.
Yeah.
I think he needs to shock himself into a realization of how the world is.
Shocking himself could cost him his life.
It's true. It almost did with the church woman that he threw on the stick. I will say that was a pretty badass moment in the episode when he encountered his first walker in the woods.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to hit her with the rock, but he did throw her down onto that sharp stump or whatever it was, and the special effects team was going into overdrive because she just exploded from the inside. It looked like a scene out of Alien.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really well done, and the whole like
he had a few weeks off.
That's mean. All right.
Yeah.
But the way that he finally realized that he could do at least that much, he can finish the job. He's got the rock, and then he looks down and he sees the cross. Obviously, it's either somebody from his congregation or just somebody that he can tell from the necklace shared the same belief system as him. And
yeah.
You know, it's the old cliche, how can I do this to her? She didn't ask for this.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Which, you know what? As much as it kind of makes him look like, and I'm sorry this is going to sound like I'm being a dick, it kind of makes him the dweeb of the show a little bit. He's the only one on the show that's not willing to kill yet, other than Tyrese. But even
Tyrese knows when. And
Tyrese will do it when it's absolutely necessary. But so the Father Gabriel is the only person that's really not willing to kill yet. And it makes him the dweeb of the show.
Now, let's get this one thing straight. It's him not willing to kill, because these things are already dead. he's not seeing them as being dead.
He hasn't had his Herschel moment yet.
Yeah.
He hasn't had his Herschel Barn moment yet. But I mean, at the same time,
I think he will.
Oh, of course he will. Like he's got himself out in the wilderness now. Like there's no uncomfortable chairs are uncomfortable. There's no way to avoid him having his Herschel in the barn moment. But I think in the meantime, as far as story structure goes, I think he needs to be there because for the audience needs to remember that this used to be the world that we live in.
Yes.
Here's your barometer. Here's a person from our world next to Rick. Yeah. And next to Daryl, and next to Michonne.
It's like he's stuck in a different timeline.
I think more so it shows what we've been talking about a lot through this series is the story arc that a lot of our other characters have gone through. We talked about the story arc of Carol. We talked about the story arc of Rick and Daryl and the various stages they've gone through. But if you've gone from 0 to 100, it's nice to have a 0 there to show you how far off that 100 is.
Yeah. It's like, say, for example, just to put it into perspective, when someone's saying they're stuck in the 70s, someone's stuck in the past, someone's still a hippie, but at this day and age, we're a little bit more technologic, and we've had all these advancements, and now we're looking back at this person and going, you are so far behind of where we are, it's almost sad. And
at the same time, you have to admit that you have to believe that there's some small part of the people in the group, like Michonne, like Rick, like Daryl, whatever, that kind of envies Gabriel because they remember that they all. Okay, maybe not Daryl. Daryl had a pretty fucked up life anyway, unfortunately. But like Rick, even somebody like Shane, even somebody like Dale or Herschel, they had a normal life once.
Yeah.
And they had the mentality that Gabriel has. So they don't. He doesn't have the life anymore, but he has the same mentality they used to have. It makes them. If it was me in their shoes, and obviously I can't put myself in their shoes, I'm wearing socks right now. Whatever. They have to envy his naivety at this point. I would think like that has to come into it at some point.
I think so. I really do. But
how long is he gonna? He literally, when he got out from under the church, he took one step and put a nail through his foot.
Yeah.
I'm calling it right now. He will be dead by the end of the episode next week. Maybe that's a bold prediction, or maybe he'll be adopted by another group. But if he doesn't either reconnect with Rick's group or find himself another group, he will be dead by the end of next week's episode.
Now this is kind of going into a little bit of spoiler alert for those of you who don't watch the sneak previews for the next episode. So
fast forward about 10 seconds.
I'd say more than 10 seconds. But basically, when in the sneak preview for the next episode, you see Father Gabriel going to where the guys from Terminus,
Gareth and all them were,
where they were sitting, and he finds, I think it was a book. It was a Bible. It was a Bible he finds, and he opens it up and he reads the name, which is someone I think he recognized.
Yeah.
And when he puts the book down, he sees the foot, and I think at that exact moment, he realizes that it's Bob's foot. Putting two and two together because this guy's foot, like from the kneecap down, is sitting on this barbecue, and all of a sudden, then he thinks back to when Bob showed up at the church, and he's missing a leg and everything else. So what I think he's going to do is that's just kind of going to click to him. I think that's going to be his sudden epiphany of, you know what, this shit's kind of fucked up.
And it's not even fucked up because of zombies.
Not even because of the zombies, it's the people now that he has to worry about.
Yeah.
So when he goes and sees this, and I think at that point he will realize that's why Rick did what he did to these people. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be at that point when he realizes he has to do what he has to do in this time because that's what needs to be done.
Either that or that's the moment where he snaps and just gives up.
That could happen too.
Because this is not a character, and I don't just mean literally like, how long would a guy like this last in the apocalypse? No offense to him, the actor that's playing Father Gabriel, I don't think is really firing on all cylinders, if I'm honest. Yeah. So be it character longevity or just the fact that people will slowly lose interest, I don't think the character one way or another is going to last very much longer on the show.
I think he's really good at acting like a pussy.
Yes. Or he just is, and that's sad. Okay, switching gears to Slab City, where we revisit the changing, I think, relationship between Beth and Dawn, and Dawn gives Beth the key to the medicine cabinet.
I don't think it's anything of importance to say that they're kind of connecting on a mutual agreement. Dawn is a conniving bitch. And what I think she's doing is either testing Beth to screw everything up on her own accord, or to do the right thing.
Mm.
And that leads me to where she ends up going to the doctor to find out what's going on, what she has to do to save Carol. And I know you had some things that you wanted to say on that situation.
I'm kind of the opposite now, because we're supposed to meet Dawn in the beginning and think, wow, what a flaming cunt. Like, really realistically, we sat here on this series and said that.
Yep.
Pretty much. She's fucked up. I think we're getting more into she is that way because she's so scared and so unsure of herself that she somewhere along the way she picked up the idea that the only way she's going to survive is to never ever falter, never ever show weakness, never ever show compassion. And my reason for that, and I mean we saw it in the preview the week before, but it happened this week, was he had the cop there that was asking how long Carol was going to be on life support because they're all on batteries and whatnot, and Beth challenged him, and she was right. And I think, well, obviously we know she was right, but I think Dawn knows she was right. But Dawn, because she has to stay looking strong, so Beth needs to be down here, and she needs to be up here, or she thinks she does. She had to make the badass call and say, fuck her, take her off life support. And she had to be that person that doesn't care, because she's convinced herself, or she's scared herself into thinking that that's the only way she's going to survive. I think, honestly, that her entire persona is based on the fact that she's terrified. I could be wrong. She could be a conniving bitch. She could be playing Beth from here till next Tuesday. But I think we're seeing...
February.
It's February, isn't it? Fuck me. But, I mean, I'm pretty sure Slab City is going to be taken down and everybody in it is going to be taken down. I think we're going to keep Noah as a character. I wouldn't be surprised if, and most people would consider this a swerve, I wouldn't be surprised if the group took in Dawn. Because somebody that paranoid, or somebody that's been treated in such a way, or been situated for so long, that they're that horrible a person because they have to be, there's going to be at least one person in the group that taps into that. They're gonna go, oh, look how bad Daryl might come in and say, oh, look how bad I used to be.
Yeah, and I think this is where they're gonna have the yin and the yang of the first half of the season, because they started off with tournaments, and tournaments being a very, very bad place.
Yeah.
And Slabtown has
the potential to be a great place.
It does. And I think that's where it's kind of balancing it out, because I don't think they're gonna have two places where it's just like bad, everything else is just shit. I think they're going to have bad potential. Yeah. Now, what we do at this situation is either going to go like this and make everything better, or it's just going to put it right up there. But because there's something that's already holding this high of a standard, they're going to sit there and be like, all right, now let's bring it down.
Let's not be suicidal, let's not have rapey security guards.
And even with the security guards, they're not as aware, and I'm not even sure the word I'm trying to think of is almost tactful.
The security guards are pretty much assholes that are sexually harassing a lot of people.
I don't even think they're real cops. I think they're just wearing the
uniforms. One was, because the one guy that was there that we're going to get into a second, because he ended up being an asshole in the end, but the one guy that was talking to Rick, and he called him on it right away. He's like, dude, the way you talk, the way you carry yourself, you used to be a cop, didn't you? Which this is a bit of a tangent, but that was, we've talked, and it's getting repetitive now. We've talked about story arcs, but for somebody to go up to Rick now and say, I can tell you were a cop once, that's got to do something huge for, I can't put it into words really, but that's got to do something for Rick. Like, I'm not as gone as I thought I was, or something along those lines.
After everything that's happened, someone's still able to tell what I was.
There you go.
With that being said, I think he's probably the only cop, and everybody else there is just wearing the uniform to identify themselves as people with power.
Or there was a bunch of uniforms sitting around in the hospital, like the hospital scrubs, and it's just, okay, you guys are big, scary guys. I need you guys to be my authority figures. Here, have some cop uniforms.
Yeah. With that being said, they're not as tactical as Rick and the group are, so it's going to be very easy for Rick and the group to infiltrate.
They've also got vehicles for days, though.
Vehicles for days mean nothing when it comes down to fighting.
Vehicles for days means you don't have to fight.
You just run.
Vehicles for days means it's a lot easier to scour around and get supplies. Vehicles for days means you go, you find more people, you build your group slowly, you find rations, you find supplies, you find... vehicles for days is a good thing.
Oh, well, I'm not saying it's not a good thing. I just think on the story arc that Slab City is not going to be as bad of a place as everybody think it is. I think it's. I think you're right in that Dawn is going to be a part of the new group.
Yeah, I think we've. Cause who did we lose? We didn't actually. Did we lose somebody this season? Am I totally forgetting?
Bob.
We lost Bob. But Bob, I'm sorry, and I've said this before too. Bob falls into that disposable Woodbury category.
It does.
Where
and
I'm sorry, Sasha and Tyrese are expendable characters to me.
They're expendable. Sasha, I think, is a little bit more expendable than Tyrese because Tyrese is the moral compass of the group.
Till Glenn gets back.
Even with Glenn there.
Really?
Glenn knows that he has to do what he has to do, but Tyrese is still fighting that human nature part. And that's where I see the difference between the two of them.
I see. I connect more now with Abraham, and I really wish I could remember what her. I keep calling her Torres, but I know that's not her name. But Abraham and Mrs. Abraham and Eugene, I consider them more parts of the group than I do Tyrese or Sasha, because the way that was the only story problem I had with the whole prison thing.
Yeah.
Was when they defeated Woodbury and just brought everybody in. Hey, it's a bunch of disposable bodies that we can get rid of whenever we want for dramatic effect and not affect the real group. Mm-hmm. And they've never shaken that feeling.
And to touch on to that is between the two, Tyrese and Sasha. Tyrese is a little bit more of a keepable character than Sasha is. Because when the season first started out, and I called it, I said one of the two are going to die. It's either going to be Bob or it's going to be Sasha.
Yeah.
I think Sasha's next.
Sasha's next because that'll be what snaps Tyrese into an okay, let's kick everybody's ass machine.
Yeah.
He'll still have his moral compass. And look at somebody like Daryl, who didn't have a moral compass until after the apocalypse.
He'll be on a Sunday dose of fuck it all.
Alright then. I think Sasha dying will be the hugest part of Tyrese's story, and he'll finish his arc, and he'll be sort of closer to where everybody else is.
Be complete.
Okay. I have a quick question for you.
Okay.
What one thing in this episode really seemed out of place?
I think it was the whole Sasha Bob thing. With not Bob the hobble leg. I think it was Bob the cop.
The cop that smoked her in the head?
Yeah.
Okay,
and
so
after everything that happened with Terminus, after these people were saying, "Oh, well, we're all friendly. If you want to survive, come here. We have shelter."
Oh, that she got called into that, or that she got like roped into that.
She got
swerve?
roped into that swerve with Bob, and basically him saying that I've got this person out there, and she felt all sympathetic for him. And at this point, I'm not sure why. It felt so out of place, especially after all this stuff with Terminus happening so recently.
That she was still able to attach to somebody else's
Emotions.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can buy that. Side note: the melted walkers were amazing.
Yes.
The melted walkers on the street.
Napalm.
And I've said this season, I like when they give us little Easter eggs for those of us that have been watching the whole time.
Yeah.
Carol using the zombie guts to blend in, like they did from season 1. Whereas anybody now watching, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. But for those of us that have been watching the whole time, we know where they got that idea.
Yeah.
And for those of us that were watching since the beginning, we saw when, I think it was Lori and Shane, saw the explosions in Atlanta that fused all those people to the ground. And now we're, what is it, 4 seasons later when we finally got follow-up on that. Yeah. I like, this is going to sound really corny, but I like the fact that the people that have been watching from the beginning are rewarded like that.
Yep.
With little things where it's like, you know what? I know why that's like that. Because it's not... they address why the people are stuck to the ground or whatever.
I'd like to thank Nicaragua and Gimble for that.
Oh, for sure. But like they do address it and how it happened in the show, but just when you immediately see it, it's like, oh yeah, that's a cool feeling. But I wasn't where I was going for with what seemed out of place though.
Yeah.
If you were leaving to go off and potentially fight another group, who's the one person you really wouldn't want to leave behind?
The baby.
No. Michonne. To me, they're going to war with another group, and there's a couple layers to what I'm going to say here, right? They're going to war with another group, and they leave one of their warriors behind at the camp. That's one thing. Another thing is Michonne, who we know herself has lost a kid, which is horrible, first of all. Second of all, is one of those things that could take somebody as strong as Michonne and have her break down a little bit, depending on how she addresses the situation. Third of all, she kind of became the sort of emotional caregiver of Gabriel and all the shit that he was dealing with. Now, I don't mean to imply that Michonne doesn't have a caring side and doesn't have a heart or whatever, but for her to be doing that instead of being in potentially the main fight of this half season, I won't say it was a bad move by the writers, but it was jarringly out of place.
Yeah. I think with Noah's insight to the hospital and everything going on inside of it, I think with his input they were able to kind of decide, you know what, we can go in with this many people because we don't want that big of a group to draw that much attention. But we're going to take who we can, and we're going to leave some people behind to take care of everybody else. That way, in case something happens where they end up just by chance coming across this church and finding out that there's people there, and then taking them, they have a little bit more of an advantage. Because Carl is pretty battle ready.
Yeah.
He's able to defend himself. Tyrese is able to defend himself.
And Tyrese is with Rick.
Oh, that's right. And Michonne is able to defend herself. And what do they have left? They have the priest, and they have the baby.
Tell me, okay, I know they had a lot of emotional moments in this episode that they had to kind of put together between Tyrese and Sasha. Tell me that episode wouldn't have seemed just a whole lot more in place if Sasha had been the one that stayed and Michonne was the one that went to war.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sorry, Sasha, at this point, would be better off, because the people going to town are on offense. People staying behind to protect the church are on defense. If you're on defense, if you're defending the church, you're defending people that were trying to fuck with you. Now, the last people that tried to fuck with them killed Bob. So Sasha's knee-jerk reaction to somebody fucking with them is going to make her a better protector than she would be on offense, whereas Michonne, we've seen, as I said, she's not a total machine, she's not a heartless bitch, but she can definitely turn on that mode, where she becomes a wrecking ball. And she's got more fighting experience.
Yeah.
Or so we're led to believe that she taught herself faster, however you want to say it. But yeah, I almost would have left. If they wanted to do the Sasha and Tyrese emotional thing there, send Michonne and Carl out with the fighting group, leave Tyrese and Sasha back at the place, not only for the defense reasons of Sasha, like I said, but who is more protective and who has a better connection with Judith than Tyrese at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously other than her father, but like, you see how well Tyrese wrecks shop when it comes to defending Judith.
Yeah.
So he would have been the immovable object at the front door.
And that's the one thing I've noticed too, is that even after that Rick got back together with Carol and Tyrese and Judith. He was without Judith for the longest period of time. He meets up with them again, and all of a sudden now, Tyrese is still doing the fatherly role.
Yeah.
So
I think at this point you'd have to develop the whole, like, not fairy tale, but like there's a little bit of a cliche, like the village raises the child.
yeah,
I think at this point, because they don't know what's going to happen, Rick could be taken out at any point, Carl could be taken out at any point. So that group as a whole has to parent Judith. And I think if anybody is as messed up as this might sound to some, I think Tyrese is the perfect, I guess, model for that idea.
yeah, because he still has the balance of good and evil.
Yeah, and he's got the teddy bear effect.
Yeah,
Big bad scary guy when he needs to be, but
yeah.
But yeah, I think this episode would have just fit a little better if they had shuffled some characters around. But that's just me.
No, I agree to that.
It doesn't pay to be Bob.
No.
Bob fucked over Sasha. We've kind of already talked about that. The way that I was about to say WWE. The way Walking Dead, because there's a W. Cut me some slack. There's a W in there. The way they do things. I think we touched on this last week when they did the thing with the bridge and the car.
Yeah.
We hold this show to a very high standard.
Yep.
Higher than most shows.
Mm-hmm.
Up until now, it's deserved that because it's shown us what it can do. The really, really botchy sort of hack job on the car stunt last week, and then the way they shot the last scene of the show with Sasha and Bob, so that you knew he was going to do something.
Yeah.
I think him attacking her at the end was supposed to be like this big shock, but the way they shot it, like they telegraphed it, like from 1,000 miles away. Which is a little unfortunate because it what should have been the Cracker Jack thing that leads you into the finale, which is apparently going to be awesome. Kind of wah.
I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm going to anticipate, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. I figure it's going to leave more questions. Which is good, because that's what the middle of the season should do. It is good, but at the same time, we've had this entire first half of the season of nothing but questions and very little answers. We've had a lot of answers. We've had they haven't done information of theories.
They haven't done them very well, as I've admitted, but they've had a lot of flashback and backstory this season.
Yeah.
As I said, I hope they're saving all the Cracker Jack stuff for the second half of the season. But I don't want to look past next week because I want to believe. There's your X-Files.
I'm gonna go in hibernation. Once Monday hits, I'm going into hibernation until February.
Are you? Well, that's sad. I was going to ask our audience for some input on something, but you're going to go sleep for a couple of months.
I meant on a Walking Dead hibernation.
Okay. I was just going to say, is there anything else they want us to talk about while the show's on hiatus? Like, is there?
This is true, actually. I think.
Is there a movie you want us? Anything zombie related?
I don't even care if it's zombie related. I'm ready to do any kind of movie review at this point.
It has to be fucked up, though. I want to keep at least that much.
Okay, we'll keep that.
Give us a fucked up movie to review if you want us to review a movie. If you guys would rather that this show goes on hiatus when Walking Dead goes on hiatus, let us know down there. But if there's something else you want us to talk about in the meantime, I'm here enough.
I'm here.
Well, you live here, so
yeah,
this is a thing.
Even when I'm here, I'm not here.
We're all here because we're not all there?
Yes.
There we go. But yeah, I wanted to say that to the end, but good a time as any to talk about it. If there's something you want us to review, there's a lot of people, somebody asked me on Facebook actually the other day, I forgot to mention this to you, something about some zombie game. Are you guys going to review games? I'm like, I'm not much of a gamer. My phone is going off. I'm going to ignore that.
I am the gamer of the two of us. I will be more than happy to do a review of games.
That'll be you. But movies, other shows, anything in that realm, if you guys want us to like, there's a couple of fucked up movies coming up in the next little bit too.
Yeah. Actually, I wouldn't really say it's fucked up or even really zombie related.
Jurassic World?
No, I'll get to that one in another video. But Pan. I'm only saying this because as a child, I grew up and Peter Pan was my hero. All I wanted to do was fly. My mom could tell stories for days about me doing Peter Pan shit. But this movie that's coming out, I've seen the trailer today, and it's kind of like a prequel. It's how it all began. And
I would be excited about that if prequel wasn't like the flavor of the past couple of years.
Hugh Jackman's a pirate.
I'm a pirate. I got lots of
Hugh Jackman's a pirate. Now, from what I've seen in the trailer, he did a relatively decent job for the short little time that he was on it. But I don't know. I hear pirate and I think of Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
I don't know. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, there you go. The fourth Pirates of the Caribbean has zombies in it. And mermaids.
Yes.
Some of whom are pretty damn hot.
Wait. When's this coming out?
I have it on Blu-ray at my house.
No, you said fourth one.
Fourth.
Wait, there is four.
Yes,
not
there
just
is.
three. Okay.
Yep.
I'm an idiot.
Alright.
Anywho,
we're also accepting collections so the bird can get back on his meds. Come on, look at this face. We got to do something.
I would like to say to everyone that if you have people who like Walking Dead or you know even just like watching review shows of shows, send them our way. The more people that we get watching us, the better, and the more people that watch us, the better we will be.
And please talk to us, guys. I've been the one thing I will say. I know Cheney, who I know more through the wrestling side of things, has given us some feedback here and there. Guys, we want feedback. Ultimately, we're doing this for fun, but we're hopefully doing it for an audience. Start a conversation with us.
We'll do.
Tell us what you'd like.
Q&As.
Tell us what you'd like to see. Toss us if you have a question for us this week that you want us to answer next week. Really, that's the one thing that's really lacking in this series right now is we want to hear from you guys. Also, our Facebook group, The Walker's Den, is in the info section of each one of these videos. Come join, post your own content, become part of the conversation, share it with your friends if your friends are not exactly YouTube savvy, because it's not everybody's thing.
No.
But come join us there. We're reaching out to you guys. Help us help you.
I know there's a whole bunch of other Walking Dead fan pages on Facebook and stuff like that.
But ours is better.
Ours is better. And that's why I've extended the invitation for other members of other groups to come check us out.
Yep.
And maybe even later on down the road, if we get enough people from another group that want to come over and maybe do a merger of two groups, that is definitely a possibility. But
locally, anybody that's here that would like to come join us on the show, I know
I am so down for special guests.
There's one or two people that we've spoken to. You have a neighbor, and you have people that you throw sharp things with, and you have like people that go spark in the night. Sparky, buddy, we've been looking for you.
I was actually talking to him last night. He said that
he likes Hardwick, so maybe we shouldn't have him on the show.
No.
Hardwick, who gave us the brilliant realization that zombies are soft like cheese. That's it. Badass bitch, and we get out of here?
Yep.
Any doubt that Daryl, who beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker, is the badass of the week?
Yep.
Who's the bitch? I'm gonna say the zombie that became the bowling ball. Zom-bowling should be a thing.
I'm gonna say it's Father Gabriel's foot.
I'll do you one better. Father Gabriel's shoe. Failed. It had one job.
And it didn't do it.
Didn't do it.
Didn't do it. Actually, the one thing I want to touch base on before we finish this is that Father Gabriel chose the exact same machete that Rick used to kill Garrett.
Because he wanted something that he could pull up tiles with. I hate to break it to you.
I just think that there's a little bit of a connection there.
If that wasn't the case, I would have totally said, like, hey, maybe he realizes, maybe this is a big symbol that he realizes that everything happens for a reason, bloody bullshit. He needed it to pull up floor tiles. And, okay, how shitty were the constructors of the church? Floor tiles, dirt ground. Floor tiles, dirt ground.
Never
Jesus
hire
Christ.
shitty contractors.
Jesus Christ.
He has absolutely nothing to do with this anymore.
Well, like a carpenter, you know. I'm tired. Guys, he's Bert, I'm Spaz. We're out. See you next week for the finale.
Peace.